Hey, what's up, Greg?
Swig, I can see you now.
Okay. I can't hear you. 1 second. Let's see.
Let's see.
Okay, Greg, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can, man. It looks like we're in
Okay.
business. Thanks for
Right.
hopping on, and a little bit of technical difficulties like there always is. And things are just working really finicky today. There's like a huge outage for Messenger, for WhatsApp, for Instagram. Have you noticed
Oh,
that
I
today?
heard it. I just saw an article that was funny enough shared on Messenger by one of my friends about it. So I guess it's not out here.
That's great. Yeah. No, it looks like when I was messaging, I started a new group chat, and it was like not sending my messages. Alejandro was in the chat. It was like showing all of these kind of like weird things happening. Like essentially, it was just being really buggy, and looks like there's a global outage. So if anybody's running into those issues as well, that's probably why there's some weird stuff going on.
Are we live right now, by the way?
Yeah, we're live, man.
Oh,
I think,
man.
we still got a few more minutes for people to log in. So if you're just joining us, hold tight. We'll get started here in the next few minutes. So just gonna have some quick chit chat with you, Greg. How's everything going, man? How's the guitar? Are you putting that to good use?
That's Lily's, my wife. For the listeners out there. Yeah, I don't play the guitar. You know me, man. Not musically inclined.
That's great. So is she singing you some songs every night or what?
She is. She does this like karaoke app that's like really popular here in Vietnam. And funny enough, she's actually singing like once a week now at a wedding hall because one of the people that like her on the app and owns a wedding hall, so he hires her once a week to sing at weddings.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, for
Some
those of you
digital
tuning
content
in,
marketing right there.
Greg's wife is a talented singer and musician. She's got a beautiful
Indeed.
voice. Very cool. So how's everything in Saigon? We were kind of talking about that earlier. Are things open? Can you go out and just go to a restaurant, or how is the situation there?
Yes, it's very much like I'm still living in 2019. like uh there's like at the beginning of the year there was a bit of the lockdown stuff, but since they closed the borders and like Vietnam, I think is weirdly good at handling strange diseases from China. So they were able to stop it pretty quickly here with just really brute force kind of pandemic measures. So I didn't know this, but until this year when I started looking it up, but apparently Vietnam has like a pretty good track record when it comes to infectious diseases. Like they were the first one to contain SARS, like back in the day as well.
Wow. Yeah, I think those governments that have like a little bit more, I don't know what the right term is, but a little bit more control, I guess, over a lot of the logistics, and people just tend to like listen to them, and if they say like wear a mask, people just do it, and they don't really ask questions.
It was funny when they made masks a mandate here. Like the only thing that changed was like all the expats basically started wearing a mask. It's like every all the Vietnamese wear masks all the time with the pollution and stuff. So
Right. That's great. So how's your kind of year been shifted due to COVID? Has it changed a lot? I know, I'm obviously bummed. We were supposed to have your bachelor party and wedding this
yeah,
year. So
indeed,
besides
it'll probably
that,
be
what else has been impacted?
yeah, my bachelor's party. I'll have it like 2 years into my marriage, I guess. Still gonna have it. It's still happening one of these days. But yeah, things have been going good overall, man. Like first part of the year was very scary. When all of this was just coming out and starting to affect the world in a big way. But we really recovered in Q2 and Q3, like Q2, Q3, and now Q4 are probably going to be our best quarters ever. Like we just sold a $12 million deal, so that's awesome. I'm not,
That's
you'll
great.
like this. I'm sure we'll go into it maybe a little bit. But when you used to work with us back in the day, like getting over 30 seller submissions was a big deal, right? Like that was a really good week. So we got rid of our listing fees as a effort to get more seller submissions, and we did some stuff in there to make sure that we get rid of tire kickers. Now we're getting like 112 to 150 seller submissions a week.
Wow.
So yeah, things have been going real nice on that front.
That's great to hear, man. No, I actually just had a friend submit a 7-figure dropshipping business this week. So excited to be co-brokering on that deal. So
excellent.
Helping one extra submission for you there, guys, this week.
I'm glad to hear it's a big one. We're driving our vetting team crazy at the moment. So
oh yeah, I'm DMing all the vetting guys every minute. Be like, hey guys, where's the valuation? Is this finished yet?
I'm sure they appreciate it.
Oh, they love it. They love it. No, but that's great to hear, man. What has been kind of, besides the removing the listing fee, what would you say was like that, that created that big shift? What else kind of, helped with that impact?
Yeah, I mean, the team, you knew Sarah and Brandon obviously before you left, but then the 3 new hires as well, they really started coming up to speed, and we're doing more content than ever. We're doing pretty good on the SEO front now as well. Like I did this thing on our marketplace where basically the marketplace has become just like a giant squeeze page in a sense to like get more leads. And with the pagination I did from the SEO stuff, we're basically ranking for like every good keyword for us, like, buy affiliate website, sell affiliate website, all these like great keywords, like Amazon FBA related ones. So that's been a huge driver on that front. But yeah, like we did, I think just this quarter about 15 guest posts this quarter with the new content team, and we built that whole machine out. So just getting better at scaling content really is a big one. We have started going back into paid ads, but not super effective at the moment.
Yeah,
as it usually is.
Yeah, it's a tough one to crack. Well, I would say, do you think just kind of, with the global economy, a lot of sellers are more motivated at this time? They're like, not super great outlook potentially back over the, the past 6 months. I think right now the outlook's really shifted towards more positive, but maybe people are like, all right, going to sell my business and get some capital to hold me over to see how things go. Do you think a lot of people have kind of sold their business out of that motivation? Or
I'm sure there's some of that there, but honestly, throughout the year, the motivation to sell has stayed kind of the same in terms of the trend. But the thing that was really scary at the beginning of the year wasn't on the seller side. Actually, we were still getting plenty of people wanting to sell, and Q1 is usually like our big blowout time where we get the most amount of sellers, right?
Right.
But the problem was on the buy side because a lot of these investors, they don't want to invest into acquiring a digital business when there's like this crazy thing happening around the world and no one knows what's happening, right? So no one was investing, no one was acquiring. But then by Q2, the world was somewhat normalized and people understood better what they were dealing with. And so the buyers just came back in massive droves.
That's great. Yeah, great to see the trends. I'm hoping to pick up a business maybe in Q1 or Q2. We'll see what happens. With things.
Maybe by the end of this interview, Swig.
Yeah.
We'll see how good my marketing is here.
Yeah, man. We'll see. Definitely. Well, everyone that's joining in, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for your patience. We're going to go ahead and get started. And I just wanted to go ahead and, try to see where everyone's kind of located. We talked a little bit about where Greg's at. So if you can go ahead and utilize the chat feature, it's just down below. Let us know where you're based. I'm just kind of curious to see where everyone's tuning in. I'm currently based in Tbilisi, Georgia. I've been here since February and just been kind of really enjoyed it here. We decided to come here for like 2 months and then COVID hit. And since then we just decided to prolong our stay, make this our new hub, and eventually need to get you out here, Greg, at some point to come visit.
I do want to see it. I've heard really good things about Georgia.
Yeah, so if you guys have the chat, let us know where you're at. We've got somebody from Germany, Daniela from Germany. Thanks so much for tuning in. I think you'd say Guten Tag. I hope that's correct. And then Long Island, New York. Jasmine, thanks so much for tuning in. So guys, we want to make this interactive, and we're going to have a Q&A towards the end. So feel free to utilize the chat to let us know anything. But if you want to ask a question, we're going to dedicate like 10 to 15 minutes towards the end. And there's a Q&A feature on Zoom, and you should see that at the bottom here. So if you have questions that come up, just pop them in there, and we'll try to get to all of the questions towards the end during that Q&A segment. So appreciate everyone tuning in. Greg, do you have any travel plans going on for this year? Or are you going to be staying put in Saigon?
I actually do have my first plane trip since the beginning of this year coming up. I'm Lily and I, my wife and I, we're going to Dalat for Christmas. So it's like a really cool, for your, you know what it is, but for your audience, it's like just a really cool mountain town here in Vietnam. And I'm from Alaska, so it's like one of the only places in Vietnam I don't sweat, which is nice.
That's always great. Yeah, man. No, that's really cool. We've been trying to do a local trip every month to kind of explore part of Georgia, and it's kind of like we had a lot of international plans canceled, and unfortunately, like, you know, that's a bummer, but we're still able to fill that in and kind of support the local tourism industry. And one of the great things is prices here are extremely, even more affordable than normal, because it's kind of like local prices everywhere. So looking forward to heading out to the mountains later this month. About an hour and a half outside of Tbilisi, there's beautiful mountain ranges with like just everything covered in snow. So you'll have to come over here, man, either in the summer or in the winter.
Come in the winter of my natural habitat.
Yeah, you love it. It's been kind of cold and gloomy, so I think this is your time to come over.
This Greg's weather right here, dark and gloomy.
Yeah, so Greg's originally from Alaska, so that's why we kind of make fun of him. He loves the cold for sure.
100%. No regrets. I miss it every day.
Yeah, it's definitely something. This is going to be my first winter, probably in like 8 years since I had lived in Prague for a really cold winter. I think that just kind of scarred me. I was like, I'm done with winters after this. But
Prague's pretty
been
cold
nice
too, yeah.
Oh man, it's freezing, freezing in the winters. But they do have beautiful Christmas markets, and you know, there's a lot of great lights. It does look really cool when it snows there. But again, it is nice having the season changes. Luckily here, it's not too extreme. Like the summers are hot, but they're not too hot. The winters are cold, but they're not too cold. And everything's a little bit more mild than where I'm originally from in St. Louis, where it's like super cold, super hot, super humid. And I don't know. I prefer the season changes, but just mildly.
Missouri's colder than Alaska during winter, man. Like not by like the actual degrees, but it's so much more humid there versus like most of Alaska is actually a desert. A lot of people don't realize that, but like the far north especially is an ice desert. So you could be out in -50 in a t-shirt and you're fairly okay for a while, but Missouri is just so wet and cold. It's the worst.
Yeah, I don't like the weather. There's a famous quote, and it's like, if you don't like the weather in Missouri, just wait an hour because it's so inconsistent. And they have the tornado weather. And
yes.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. We got it looks like we have one other guy tuning in from Taipei. So Thomas, welcome. Great to have you here. So quickly, I'm just going to give a brief overview for those of you who haven't met or interacted with either of us. My name is Michael Swigunski. I'm the founder of Global Career and best-selling author of Global Career, How to Work Anywhere and Travel Forever. And I'm going to give a big warm welcome to my ex-coworker, ex-colleague, ex-boss, Greg Elfrink, Director of Marketing at Empire Flippers. Greg, thanks so much for for coming on the show with us today. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do over at Empire Flippers?
Yeah. So I'm the head of marketing at Empire Flippers. Certainly didn't begin that way, and maybe we'll get into that, later on. But what I do is I educate the market about how to buy and sell online businesses. So affiliate sites, e-commerce stores, SaaS, Amazon FBA, all of the different business models, the really weird ones like Merch by Amazon or KDP publishing companies. So those are like a little bit more esoteric. But what I'm always trying to do is help entrepreneurs see how they can sell their business and what they can do with that afterwards. Because when you sell a business, usually it's like your largest capital windfall ever, right? So I help them see like what comes next after selling their asset. And I also, on the flip side, help buyers understand about this relatively new asset class in a lot of ways. Like, we started off selling more to the digital nomad crowd, but now we're starting to see like commercial real estate investors getting involved, private equity, family offices as we've grown. So now a lot of times I'm educating, like I get made fun of sometimes by our internet marketing friends. So I do like a quick video, like what is Google AdSense? Like what everyone knows, like, well, this commercial real estate agent is about to spend like $2 million
right?
in business. He does not know. He's learning it. So a lot of education is the primary thing. And how do I get that education into the most hands possible, right? So that's basically what I do.
Yeah, and I would say one thing that's really interesting about Empire Flippers is it is the dual-sided marketplace. So you're marketing to sellers and buyers, and then so many different subsets of people that are buying and selling. So there's a lot of creative ways to get in touch with all of those people, and there's so many different marketing channels that are going to resonate with one type of buyer or one type of seller. And it definitely makes it for an interesting thing. I think we always kind of had our hands full to really try to create content and figure out where those people kind of hang out. And I'm noticing with Global Career, we have kind of a dual-sided thing where we have job seekers and we have remote companies that we work with. So, but there's not nearly as many subsets. We've kind of just niched down into non-technical remote jobs, but we don't have as many as Empire Flippers does. But I think that's one of the interesting things about the EF marketplace is how many people it can attract at different levels. So that's a great strength for you guys.
Yeah, it's a lot. And it does, like, even what you're doing, it just like kind of turns marketing, like everything you do becomes a little bit harder. Right. So, because like you have to meet both demands of it. Like, I'm sure you remember when you were setting up like our HubSpot lead scoring years ago, and it was just like completely useless because like HubSpot's not set up for a double-sided marketplace, right? So it's like, this is a good lead for buying, like when they just submitted their business for selling.
Yeah, there's like, and then 6 different personas for each buyer and seller. So for those of you, my audience tuning in, how would you describe Empire Flippers in as simple a way, people who aren't familiar with you guys?
Yeah, so the big like 30-second pitch of what we do is we are the largest curated marketplace in the world when it comes to actually buying and selling online businesses. And that could be anywhere from, a small $20,000 website upwards to our biggest deal right now is $12 million, a $12 million e-commerce brand. So people come to our marketplace to both buy and sell, and we help them get the job done as business brokers. So we package the business up, market it. We have a sales team that helps negotiate the deal on behalf of the seller or on behalf of the buyer. And we try to make win-win situations for like everyone involved, because we want the buyer to walk away super happy at what they purchased, and the seller to walk away like, wow, I just like had a life-changing exit, right? Like that's our end goal that we try to do.
Right. Yeah. And I would say, like, just to chime in there, I think that curation is really key in this industry, because Empire Flippers spends around 4 to 6 weeks actually verifying and vetting the businesses that go onto their marketplace. So I think it's probably still around this. I think around 60 to 70% of businesses are actually rejected because you guys have such strict criteria to get on the marketplace. Is that still true these days?
It's even higher since I got that seller submissions up.
Right.
It's sitting at, I think, around 88%. So it usually is rejected. And that's a really good thing for both sellers and buyers that we reject that high, because buyers, when they come to our marketplace, they know like, okay, this is a real legitimate business, right? And that seller gets the benefit of being that real legitimate business, because buyers are a lot more serious when they come to our marketplace versus ones that doesn't really have a curation process or a vetting process.
Right. Yeah, I think there's, the curation is really key. And that's something we try to do as well. We try to curate a lot of remote companies and try to only work with the best ones. And it's funny, like I actually didn't even know this was that big of an issue, but for people to find remote jobs, we sent out a survey to, our list of 50,000 people. And I don't know, around 3,000 people filled it out. And the number one thing was people struggled with finding legitimate remote companies. There's a lot of MLM scams, a lot of sales jobs that are like, disguised as marketing jobs. There's just a lot of stuff out there that people have to be careful for. And I'm really seeing it. We have a Facebook group for, remote jobs where we post in there. And there's so many people trying to like get you signed up for Forex, get you signed up for some crypto stuff. Yeah. And it's like, there's just so many people trying to scam out there. It's really, really unfortunate that the online industry has kind of gone that way for almost any aspect, especially for people that are trying to find a remote job with a legitimate company like Empire Flippers.
I think marketing and sales in particular are very bedraggled by the, just like, I remember even back in Alaska when I was looking for a marketing job, I'd go on like Craigslist, and same thing. All the sales and marketing jobs were these weird, like scam, like very scammy kind of things. Like, here's some overpriced vitamins I want you to sell, but you have to pay me to sell them. Like, okay, this seems a bit weird, but
that's a good point. Like anytime you're going to have to, upfront some money to like buy something, I think there's a few red flags there. I remember one of the jobs I interviewed for in Australia, it was a group interview, and they were just making really crazy claims that just seemed skeptical. And I asked a few questions and they were like really hesitant to like be transparent about it. And there's like the guy who gave the group interview, he left the room, and I was like, are you guys actually like believing this stuff? Like this guy's like, and I just, spat out like 3 things that I was like, this is bullshit. And I ended up just leaving because I knew it was just like an MLM scam. And as soon as I left, there was like a bunch of other people that just followed me out the door because they just, were also, not buying into it. And I think I kind of helped them. So I think there's a lot of
job, Swig. You didn't get that. You didn't pass the interview, is what you're saying.
No, I walked out of a group interview. I've never heard of such a thing. But
group interviews in marketing, that's a red flag, right? I've done group interviews, but usually it's like a labor job, like when I worked at FedEx or something like that, right? Like definitely not a common thing in marketing or sales.
Yeah, and there's definitely some other red flags. I would say, like if the compensation looks way off, or if you're making $50,000 and they're promising $200,000 per month or something crazy, if it's that big of a leap, if it just seems too good to be true, it most likely is. So there's a lot of good resources like Glassdoor where you can actually investigate these companies, so you can do your research, do your own due diligence to make sure the company is legitimate, try to find reviews, and just doing a quick Google about the company to make sure that the employees are satisfied and that you're going to have a good experience, because you need to investigate them as much as they're going to investigate you as far as, hiring and joining a team. So let's get on to our main topic now, Greg, digital marketing. And kind of, we're going to be talking about how you can get started with digital marketing. Maybe you're already started and looking to kind of increase your pay in 2021, trying to go down a career path that's going to pay you more money. What kind of digital marketing trends do you see for 2021? Where do you see the industry kind of going towards?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and this isn't like a groundbreaking trend, this is something that's been happening for a long time, but it's really coming to a head. And I think it's video, like doing more and more video marketing is becoming very important. And that can either be a really good thing or a really bad thing, depending on what kind of industry you serve. If you're in B2B, it's actually great because most B2B videos is like this, right? It's very low production. Like we started an educational YouTube channel where it's just me barely understanding how my camera works, giving education on how to sell a business, right? And that's led to millions of dollars worth of deals already for us. And so B2B, it's great. If you're in a more consumer product niche, like, I don't know, selling a treadmill, it was a random thing came to my head. Like that could be more difficult making that kind of content. So it always comes with a double-edged sword in terms of like getting a job in marketing and what trends I see. Like if you want to make a high-paying job in marketing, there's really like 3 or 4 things I would say would be worth pursuing, and that would be copywriting. You most likely will not start off getting paid very well as a copywriter, especially at a junior entry level. But it is the most important skill in marketing. And no matter what kind of thing you learn, whether it's paid ads or organic or whatever, just good copywriting is a very good thing to learn. Then content marketing is right up there. Paid marketing, so that would be like your Facebook ads and Google ads. Like if you get good at Google ads and Facebook ads, like you are probably going to be able to land a $60,000 to $80,000 a year job fairly easily, because a lot of people are really bad at that, and that is a very good skill set. And then like the last bit of it would be the analytics person. So most marketers, like if your listeners are out there like, man, I am not creative to create like these videos or these creatives or Facebook ads or copywriting, like I'm more of an analytics numbers guy. Well, that's good because and especially in matured marketing teams, like what ours is slowly becoming, having someone who is the analytics person is almost just as important as having someone who's the showman, right? So you like a very lean marketing team would be like the showman, which I'm basically like the showman or the show person or whatever. And then there would be the designer and then the analytics person. Like that would be like bare bones marketing team. If you have those three components, you're able to get going on something. But yeah, so those are the areas I would recommend, and they're always exploding. Like everyone needs more content, and like ads are driven by content too. So just understanding how copyright and content marketing works is hugely foundational, I think.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on both of those things, especially video. If you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, like any of the social media platforms, you could easily see over the past like 2 years, it's gone from like text posts to image posts to like really strong
Yeah.
on video. It's almost like 70-80% of my feeds are full up of video. And that's definitely the trend. I think it's going to continue. There's just so much more impact you can have with video. And I've noticed this. I've been making YouTube videos twice a week for the past few months. And whenever I get on a call with somebody who's listened to and watched my videos, that conversation goes so much more smoothly. They've kind of like watched 4 or 5 videos and they're already like almost pre-sold about whatever we're going to be discussing or whatever program they're going to be joining. So it is really powerful. And I think there's some type of aspect for any type of business that can utilize video. And as far as the jobs that you suggested, as far as like copywriting, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's essentially selling something with your words or with written content. And I think all of the jobs you mentioned have a direct correlation to bringing sales or bringing revenue into the company. And that's one of the reasons they can justify such a high salary. And if you're looking to get into digital marketing, really look at those type of skill sets and those jobs that are going to have a direct correlation to how much money is going to bring in for the company. So for copywriting, you can write a piece of copy and you can easily see that that copy is turning into sales, especially if it's direct response copywriting, which is really powerful. And then there's going to be things like you mentioned with Facebook ads, Google ads, or PPC, where you can have a direct attribution with, okay, we've started running Facebook ads, and for every dollar you're spending, you're getting $4 or $5 back. That's a huge win, and it can really justify a high salary for those positions. And yeah, I think those are all really good options and really good trends for the next year. I think video is going to be continuing on, and I see you guys are still creating a lot of video content as well.
Yeah. We got our 2 podcasts, well, 3 podcasts now that we turned into videos as just like a content syndication play. And then what I'm doing with YouTube, which has seen marginally good results so far. And I just got done filming, what was it? 9 video ads. I'm doing it.
Oh, wow.
I had to redo it twice because, as you know, I'm very long-winded, and in order to do a video ad on Facebook, it has to be 1 minute or less. So I did the first one. I got them all on my computer. I was editing this like, this is like a 2-3 minute video. Can I edit this? So I like edited it down. Like, God, this looks terrible. I just have to redo it. So yeah, getting into the video ad game more. And just a little footnote on the copywriter thing. Like, copywriting is what you just said, but it also exists in video. So copywriting can be done for like video sales letters and stuff like that. So if you felt like that was a contradictory statement between copywriting and video, they actually work hand in hand pretty well.
Right. No, there's definitely like a lot of opportunities for copywriters to kind of jump on this new trend. And one of my good friends here is a copywriter, and he's doing all sorts of things. It can be email copy, it can be a a landing page, it can be a sales page, it can be for a video, a VSL script. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities to go there. And I think it's one of those industries that a lot of people just, I don't know, they don't pursue it. Maybe it's because it does take a while to kind of, it's easy to get into, but it's really hard to perfect, and really, takes time to get good at it, like anything, right?
For sure. But once you do get good at it, like every marketing channel changes all the time, but the principles of good copywriting never change. So it is just like an evergreen, awesome skill to have.
Yeah, there's definitely like a lot of human psychology that goes into writing good copy and being a good copywriter. So understanding how the human mind works and kind of what convinces people to make a purchase is going to be really impactful for becoming a good copywriter. And Greg, I'm curious. This kind of segues onto our next talking point, is our personal career paths. Now, you have a really interesting background. You used to work in the oil fields of Alaska. Could you kind of share with us your story of how you got into digital marketing?
Yeah. So I grew up in Alaska, and in Alaska, you basically have like three options, really. You go to college, you join the military, or you work in the oil field. And I'm not very scholastic. I'm not a big fan of college in general, but I definitely have no discipline for the military. So I went to the oil field. I absolutely hated it. It was terrible for me. I am not good with tools. I'm not the handyman. I still remember one of my buddies up there who became my boss. We had to go fix this pump, and we were sitting in this room, and our big boss was like, "All right, Greg, Jared, go fix this pump." And I looked at Jared like, "I don't know how to fix this thing," and it's something I should know how to fix. We deal with them like every day. I've been there for like a year and a half. It never could click my brain. And I asked Jared like, how long is it going to take us to do this? He's like, "Don't worry, Greg. It really depends. It'll either take us all day or it'll take us about 5 minutes. It depends on how many jokes you're going to tell me." That was like my saving grace in that career, is like I was just never hard to work with. I always did my best, even though it was usually terrible. And they liked me, so they kept me around forever. But yeah, I absolutely hated the work. Loved a lot of the people. Still very good friends with a lot of those people, but I always wanted out, and I knew about this whole thing of internet marketing, right? I was the kind of kid that had a TV in my room, and I'd be watching like at 4 a.m. the infomercials with the guy with like the question marks on his suit telling me how to make money from government secrets. Like those infomercials were like, I love this. This is so cool.
Yeah.
And so I was always curious about how to do this. I knew there was this other world out there, and I wanted to get into it. And I bought all these info courses, all this stuff. Ironically, I didn't want to pay for college, but I was paying all these like scammy entrepreneurs to teach me stuff with like their downloadable PDFs, right? And some of the stuff was really good. Some of the stuff I really did learn things from. Most of them were not that good. But yeah, fast forward a few years later, and I had tried several different things. When you're working 12, 18 hours a day in the oil field, like it is very difficult to get something on the side going. So almost everything I tried failed. And I actually had given up. I had given up on the dream. It was about 6 7 years. 6 7 years into my oil field career. And basically since day one in the oil field career, I was trying to make money on the internet, and it just always failed. And I just given up, like, I'm not going to be able to get out of this. So to pay off all the debt from the wonderful courses I bought, I started freelance writing. Actually, I went to all the SEO groups on Facebook, and I knew SEOs well enough that and SEO, for your audience, stands for search engine optimization. It's like how to rank on Google. They always need more content, and they absolutely hate writing content. So I needed money, so I just undercharged everyone else. I was getting paid what was it, 1.5 cents per word is what I was charging, which is very, very cheap. And I was writing a ton. I was writing enough to make $1,000, like $1,000 to a little bit over $1,000 a month. So I'd work my 12 18-hour shift or whatever it was for the day, and then I'd go back into my little like Connex and start writing these articles about plumbing in Ohio. And I remember one of my clients, the guy who had all these plumber clients, he found out I worked in the oil field. He's like, man, if I was you, I'd be so burnt out. Like, man, I've been burnt out for years. You don't stop paying the bills, right? But one thing led to another, and I basically used this gritty determination. Like my confidence started coming back by doing this freelance writing, basically, and got the the wheel turning in my head. Like, I'm going to make an affiliate site. I don't care if it kills me. I'm going to make it happen, right? So I started building out this site, and I knew about this company called AdSense Flippers back in the day, which is what our original name was. And because I was just so obsessed with internet marketing, man, like I knew all the players, even though I'd never been successful in it. I just knew everyone. Like I idolized these people almost like rock stars, like I want to be like this. So my oil field crew is like making fun of me about it, right? Because they didn't believe this actually existed. Though I did use SEO once to rank a picture of my supervisor and me, like hugging, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna rank your name. Like I like Photoshop this picture. Like if you make me clean this pit, I'm gonna rank you all over the internet, Cody. Probably an illegal thing to do with your marketing knowledge, so I wouldn't recommend it, but it was a funny joke. But yeah, so I knew about Empire Flippers. I joined the newsletter, tried to learn everything I could about selling an online business, which at the time we didn't actually have that much content. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you remember, Sway, because you and I got hired at the same time. But I got this email from Justin. That was Justin's our co-founder, saying we're looking for a content marketing superstar, something along those lines. And I was like, here's a great job I'm going to apply for and get rejected. Like, why not throw my hat in the ring? And at this point in my life, I tried to work for so many different marketing agencies, and because I didn't have a college degree, they wouldn't even like look at me. I remember specifically in Alaska talking to one about SEO, digital marketing, and they were like, that's not a thing. We do television ads here. Like, what? Like, what do you mean that's not a thing? This is like the biggest thing ever in your industry. And they were like, no, get out of my office. Like, okay. So I wasn't expecting to get the job. Turned out I did, obviously. Justin actually sent me, he probably did this to you too, Swig, but I remember getting the first email and it read like a stock rejection email, right? And then at the end, like, just kidding, like you're hired. Like, whoa, what? So yeah, that's how I got started, man. I came on as basically just a blogger for Empire Flippers, and with that, all that freelance writing I'd done, plus my affiliate site and my obsession with the industry, like I just had this like giant portfolio of things I had written that I sent to Justin.
You're a crazy fast writer too. Like I've never seen anybody write so fast without like, I don't know. You don't make many spelling mistakes for how fast you write.
Plenty of grammar mistakes, though, as our mutual friend John is always loves pointing out.
Yeah, man. So that was you joined Empire Flippers back in 2016. We both joined. I think it was April 2016, right?
Yeah, we both got to Vietnam. I think around April 4th or April 5th. It's like the only date in my head I slightly remember because that was like the date. Like everything changed for me, right?
That's crazy. Yeah, so I would say my background is probably a little bit more traditional, still a little bit of a different path than most people probably get into marketing. So my undergraduate was actually finance and real estate, and I studied at the University of Missouri. And I never really like loved the financial side of stuff. I kind of was more drawn to real estate than either one of those two. But I was really involved with the study abroad program at our university and ended up kind of getting more interested in international business. And my first job out of college was actually teaching financial economics at a university in the Czech Republic. And that kind of opened up, once I started, moving over there, I started reading a lot more about online businesses, digital marketing, kind of remote working. And I was like, man, I really want to get a remote job or kind of figure out a way where I can work and travel at the same time. And I knew, the professor lifestyle wasn't going to be really a viable option if I wanted to work from a laptop. So after a year of doing that, I decided to move back to the US, save up money to move out to Australia. And my main goal there was to find a job that could actually continue my career, push it forward. So within a week of showing up to Sydney, Australia, I found a job with a tech startup, and I was actually going to be a marketing and sales person for them. Probably around 60% sales, 40% marketing. but it was just kind of my core introduction to a tech startup. Was able to work flexible work schedule, was able to work from home some days, work remotely whenever I wanted. And that was kind of like my first step into sales and marketing. I was always more drawn to the marketing side. I still enjoyed the sales aspect of it a bit, but that just kind of opened my eyes to this world of, really getting into marketing, sending out emails, trying to attract businesses to, this tech company's product, which was, they were essentially installing iPads into 4 and 5-star hotels. And on these iPads, they could control the temperature, the lighting. They would tell you things to do in the city. And we were trying to attract businesses to advertise in the iPad. So it was a really cool business. And fast forward to about 6 months into that, I got offered to study my MBA in South Korea. And I was really enjoying my life in Australia. I was really actually enjoying the job, but it was a full scholarship to study a master's of business in South Korea. So it was one of those things where it was too good to turn down. And I ended up studying for 2 years. And this is how I actually came across Empire Flippers. When I was living and working in South Korea, I met a few guys who had worked for Empire Flippers, and they introduced me to kind of this online business, marketplace. And I kept in touch with some of the guys, but at this time I'd just been, living and working in New Zealand, just jumping around all over the place. But I was working for another startup company in New Zealand. They ran out of money, and basically we just parted ways. But at this time, one of my friends, Andrew, who was working with Empire Flippers, he sent me the opening. He's like, hey, you studied your MBA with marketing emphasis. You've got some marketing and sales experience. You'd be a good fit for this. And that's how I kind of really got my shoe in the door at Empire Flippers. Was I applied for that job and then learned about this whole internet marketing world and really kind of delved deeper into the rabbit hole of online businesses, digital marketing, and some of the powerful things that we can do as online marketers. So it's definitely been a great journey. I think a lot of people envision it as this clear step, but it kind of looks like this image here where it's a lot of zigs and a lot of zags to get there. Yeah. So there's no perfect route. You need to figure out what skills you enjoy. And I think I never would have gotten to this point unless I got to try a lot of different things. Like, it's kind of like a buffet. You go to a buffet, you sample a bunch of different things, see what you like, see what you're good at and what you really enjoy, and then try to go back and get a big plate of whatever you enjoyed. So I think if you're getting started in a career, you just need to try a lot of stuff. And that's probably one of the things I enjoyed most about working at Empire Flippers was I got introduced to so many different things. We all wore so many different hats, and you kind of got to figure out what you enjoyed most. So I'm curious.
Just real quick, one of my favorite stories right before, it must have been a few months before you left, or a year or so before you left. I remember just like one of the most random things we've ever done where I reached out to you on Slack, like, Swig. It's like, yeah, what do you need? Like, I need you to research how to buy a billboard in Thailand. What?
I was like, I was so shocked.
It's just like one of the weirder things that you and I have done in our little marketing career.
Yeah, and I don't know if I ever actually told you this, but buying that billboard was such a crazy industry. Like, I ended up researching it and finding some guy in Hong Kong, and there was some he was completely normal. We had a call with him. We sent him the money, and we sent him for whatever reason, the money showed up in like USD when it was supposed to show up in like Thai baht or something. And he started like sending me crazy messages on Skype. And I was like, what's going on, man? Like, what happened? And he was just like so upset. And I was like, it probably worked out to be a few $100s in fees. And we're like, we'll take care of it, man. It's not a big deal. But he just got like so distraught over this. And I was like, man, this guy's insane. I hope this like actually works out. But yeah, luckily the billboard turned out good. This guy was like a little nuts, but it actually did go well.
The billboard was up for like far longer after the conference too. Like, like it was up for like two or 3 months, I think.
Yeah, we definitely got a good deal
fantastic. Yeah.
But I'm curious, Greg, if you had to recommend, let's say we were both going back to our early careers. How would you recommend somebody to get into digital marketing that wants to kind of get a fresh start, wants to pursue marketing? What would you suggest for them?
Yeah, I'd say definitely don't do what I did, which was trying to start a bunch of businesses while working a very intense job. I think a much better route to go is to find, like, if you want to learn it all, if you want to become a highly developed marketer and you're okay with like a stressful situation, you do what Swig and I did, which is join a very young startup, which like Empire Flippers have been around for a few years, but really not really, because it was just Justin and Joe, really. Like Swig and I
Right.
were employees number 4 and 5, and now we're up to closing in on 80 employees over the last 4.5 years or so. And if you're in a startup environment, there's a good chance that startup is going to fail, so you might be switching jobs, but you are just going to learn like crazy stuff, and you're going to have good connections with the founders too, which they may or may not be good in marketing, but you'll learn a lot of different stuff about business from them as well. If they're any good at business, they might not be either, but either way, you're going to learn a ton in startups. So
Right.
I say getting a job is the fastest way to get going. If you just find, even if it's a low level job, like I took a pay cut to go work in oil or to go work at Empire Flippers from the oil field, but that pay cut plus when you combine the fact I was remote actually made me like it was like the best decision I ever made. Like once I was in Vietnam, like I was making like $2,000 a month, living the best life I've ever lived, like even for cheaper than what I was actually saving more money on a lower salary because I was remote than what I was back in Alaska. But that decision also allowed me to grow so much faster by taking this job that was a pay cut. So I'd say just when you're first starting, you know, don't be super picky about what you do. And like what Swig said, what you said, Swig, like try a little bit of everything and look to get into a company first, because like you might want to start your own thing eventually. It's just a lot harder. Give yourself a break and like start off
Right.
on the easy road, getting a job
Yeah.
first.
I definitely agree with you, Greg. I think if you don't have the skills or you don't have the capital to invest in a business, I think you need to have that progression into learning those skills. And if you can get paid to learn those same skills, I think I had to get over a really like kind of mental barrier when I applied for Empire Flippers as well. Like you were making a really good salary in the oil field. I had just, I was making 25, $30 an hour in New Zealand, which was a pretty good salary. And it was definitely going to be a salary cut to make 2 grand a month.
Yeah.
But once I kind of, realized I was going to learn a lot more, I was going to learn it really fast and be kind of part of something where I could have a big impact. Once I kind of, pro conned everything, I realized that even despite the pay cut, I was going to get so much more benefit out of it and, be a part of something big, which was really good. But just getting over that like salary data, you really have to consider a lot of factors of like how much you're going to learn, what's the cost of living going to be if you can, take advantage of geo arbitrage and live overseas. So there's a lot of other factors. It's not necessarily how much you make, but how much you're able to save, right? How much profit you're able to bring home. And that's the power of having, being a digital marketer, being, into the remote workforce. You're able to earn in dollars and spend in local currency. And there's a lot of great benefits for that.
It's huge. Like even on 2 grand a month, as long as you don't have any outstanding debt, which when I first came out with EF, I actually did because I just had a fire in my house, plus all this other crazy stuff that happened to me. But I still took the leap, and like for example, in Vietnam or even Thailand, like you can find some pretty luxury style apartments for like 650 a month, 650 USD, which in Alaska that would give you like a little closet that might have a heater, right? Like this is
Right.
a living life of luxury. But yeah, taking those calculated risks, I think, is very, very important when you first start off. Like I can say me taking that pay cut and going out on a job that I actually thought they were going to fire me. I remember Swig, you were like giving me like pep talks at a bar was like dude, I don't have any of these skills. You're going to be all right. It was the best decision I ever made. So I think even if you do need to take a pay cut, if you're switching industries, starting over, it's just totally worth it. As long as you, like what Swig did, you write out that pro and con, make sure you know where you're going and what opportunities the job can give you over time.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. And there is a lot of jobs out there. And I would say, at the time, like Empire Flippers was pretty well known, but, you know, I don't think there was probably like hundreds of people we were competing with for this role. It was probably like, I don't know, 20 or 30, right?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, you and I weren't even the first pick. I remember Justin
Right.
telling that to us. Remember, he's like, "You guys are just cogs." He was
Yeah.
joking with us for your audience, but yeah, like for whatever reason, the actual person you wanted to hire on the second interview did like a terrible job. Like showed up drunk or something to the
Right
interview.
to the
So that's
second
how
interview
Swig and
or
I
something.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, you definitely have to finding those like early stage startups where maybe instead of 1,000 people applying for that job, maybe there's only like 10 or 15, and you have a lot better chances to be a part of something that you can have a big impact in. It's easier said than done to find those companies, but they're definitely out there for sure. So, Greg, I'm
100%.
curious for our audience. I think a lot of people, that big milestone is getting a six-figure salary or six-figure income. And I know we mentioned it. I think with all those jobs you mentioned previously for copywriting, like let's say somebody's going down a certain path. What tips do you have for them to level up their salary? How can people kind of get to that six-figure mark? Let's say they've got 2 or 3 years of experience. Should they just keep going on their path? Should they switch jobs or companies, or try to do something completely different?
Man, there's so many variables in that, right? I think it depends. So on the switching jobs thing, like does the startup value the marketing team, right? Like Empire Flippers, for example, we highly value the marketing team, right? Like we are treated pretty well over here once you're doing a good job. uh so you need a startup that if you're going to stick with a job, you want to make sure that company highly values marketing, but also you also have to think, do they value me? Like, can I become a bigger part of this thing that I'm in, so that's very important. In terms of continuing the path, if you decide to continue with the same company and you want to level up to that six-figure mark, my advice is to honestly don't think about it, which sounds counterintuitive. Instead, think about like, how can I drive this company into a bigger place? So in marketing, I always say you're looking for rooms where your people, your customers, your target market live, and you're trying to learn how to shout in that room in a way where they love you, right? And every room has different rules. Like the room that's Facebook ads is a very different way you do a shout versus doing SEO. But you're always looking for that next big room. How can I bring my company, my products, or you're basically like this evangelist or missionary of what you're selling? Because you should, if you're marketing something, you don't have to be passionate about it, but you should really believe that it's a good deal, because that's going to help you so much more in marketing. Like, I think I did really well at EF because I'm very passionate about what we do at EF and very passionate about the industry. But always look, how can I bring this company to higher levels? Then you go and do it. Actually make it happen. And don't look at your boss and be like, hey, I'm going to do this if you give me a pay raise. Just go and do it. And then say, hey, I did this. And then the boss is going to be like, awesome. And then you're like, hey, I want to get a pay raise. Like, well, you did do all this. Sure. And even if they say no, if they say absolutely not, it's not in the budget or whatever, then you can take what you just did for that company and add it to your portfolio to show other companies what you can do, right? And just by the very nature, even if you don't go and get a new job, maybe you go into an entrepreneurial venture, the fact that you did that, you learned how to bring that company to the next level, is going to make you so much more valuable, no matter if you're sticking with the same company, a different company, or starting your own company, right? Just like you get to play with their money to learn how to do it.
Right.
Right? You get to play with their marketing budgets. So you should always be looking how to level up that way. I think that will just naturally get you to six figures, in my opinion. Like copywriting, when you first start off as a copywriter, maybe making 30K a year. Once you get really good, you might be like 30K a month is quite a small range for a really good copywriter at that point. So like the levels are just infinite at where you can go as long as you master your skills.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a good thing during your career to like keep track of those like big wins you have. Keep a tally of that. Like if you had some really big results or really good achievements, because people are busy, they're not going to remember everything. But if you can kind of keep a tab of that, It's going to be one, really good for your resume to keep, those results oriented goals you've achieved. But again, if salary discussion ever comes up, you can bust out this note and be like, yes, I've done this that generated this much in revenue. I've done this that's, really increased, whatever benefit that you were focusing on. And it can be really helpful to either try to increase your salary or to just continuously improve your resume. And a lot of times in the career advancement, you can see maybe a 10, 15% shift or jump with a salary promotion, but that's going to be probably take a few years. A lot of times jumping to a new company can give you a larger shift, but it really is going to be there's so many different variables there, depending on what industry is. But I would say try to isolate these fast growing companies like Empire Flippers, where I still think the online market space for buying and selling is still the tip of the iceberg. I think there's still so much more of a hockey stick kind of effect that can happen.
Yeah, we're not even started yet, as you know, I'm fond of saying. But yeah, man, I agree. Like again, if you're okay with a somewhat more stressful environment, or it's like I've never felt EF was stressful, even though you and I were always doing tons of different stuff. I find it fun, but some people would find that very stressful. But if you're a person who thinks that's fun, working at a startup, if you can hustle during those startup years when there's only like 4 or 5 employees or whatever, and you can grow into one of the commanders of the company, or like one of the like integral members of the team, your salary is going to go up quite quick. Like I think you have a much faster path with a startup than say working at a mature company. You're going to learn way more. So
right, yeah. So I would definitely say like try to find an industry that you think is going to be, they're not super mature. They have a lot of room for advancement and growth. And a lot of tech companies have that opportunity. So a lot of times that can come from taking a smaller salary to also get some equity in the company. I think a lot of tech startups offer equity in addition to a salary. So that's something to consider as well. But also just like Greg mentioned, don't think about it too much. Make sure yourself is valuable. Make sure you're contributing a lot and keeping track of that. I think there's a lot of great ways to hit that 6-figure salary, and you really need to be in an industry that's growing fast, and they're going to be able to justify paying you that level of money. So I'm curious, Greg, we mentioned video earlier. What would you say is like the best marketing tactic outside of video that you guys are utilizing right now?
Best one outside. Well, CRM, super important, but that's not really a tactic. I could tell you a little bit what I did on the marketplace from an SEO perspective. So there's in SEO, you always want to have like the most relevant content for the search, right? And so I noticed one of our competitors, they had a marketplace pagination where basically like, okay, I want to buy an affiliate site. You go to their drop-down menu, say affiliate site, it changes the URL structure. Like, well, I can easily do this with our marketplace. So
right.
I went and did this on-page SEO stuff with it, changed the pagination, the URL slug to e-commerce sites for sale or e-commerce stores for sale. I wrote a little article underneath each of the marketplace pages, and that shot us way up in terms of organic search traffic. We just gathered all of those keywords and crushed our competition on it because we had better DR and stuff. So that was an excellent little SEO strategy there. But in terms of like other stuff, I think email marketing is always the most important, especially once you get going. Like if you're brand new in either a business or a startup you're working for, then you probably don't have much traction to make email marketing that important. But as you grow, email marketing becomes like the most important thing. We have a list of over 100,000 people, and Swig has built many of these my famous workflows that would like diagram charts of like if-then statements. And so that's for sure one of our most important things. And we get seller submissions coming from it all the time. And the key in email marketing for those listening out there is how do you hit someone with relevant content right where they are in the sales cycle, right? So like someone fills out our valuation tool, we should be hitting them with like, here's how to sell, how to get your higher valuation. But then you also have to take into account there's all these different business models submitting there, right? So what we did was we basically wrote the exact same workflow or the same email follow-up campaign, but using the language of that business model. And we could tell which business model they are by which business model they chose on our valuation tool. So depending on what kind of business you get totally different emails that are basically covering the same concept, but they speak that concept in your language. And that's a really important marketing thing, not just for email, but for everything. But
Yeah, I would say email marketing, it's still one of those platforms that you own the data essentially once they've opted in. Once you send that email, it actually gets delivered to, 99% of the inboxes, where a lot of other channels, you don't have as much impact. So it is a really powerful thing. And there's so many things you can do with email to kind of give people content, give people value, and kind of let them know about your services. And especially with a long sales cycle like Empire Flippers, you can drip those emails out over months or even years to really
the one
time.
The last one I had you put together was like a year and a half, I think,
Yeah.
worth of emails.
Yeah, man. There's definitely a lot of power with email, and again, that it kind of goes back to having relevant content at the right time, and I think that's super important. That's a really good insight from what you mentioned. So, Greg, what type of marketing tools are you guys using? Are you still on? I guess you're still on HubSpot, obviously, but any other
For
cool marketing
sure.
tools you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, best marketing tools, it goes back to the email stuff. Having a really good, robust CRM, so email marketing automation tool like HubSpot, Marketo, Fusionsoft, ActiveCampaign is another one.
Right. That's the one we
All of those
use.
are, yeah, I had to throw it in. I knew you use it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like one of the most important things, like your engine, right? As far as SEO tools go, if your audience is wanting to learn more about SEO, I highly recommend Ahrefs. It's like the only SEO tool I use all the time. For social mentions, we use Peak Metrics. So that tells us a bunch of different things whenever our brand is mentioned. And that can lead to a lot of good opportunities in terms of content collaboration or just seeing what the market is saying about us. There's a new tool, actually. You might have heard of it, Swig. I have not used it yet, but I'm planning on buying the annual subscription to it because he's making it very cheap for Christmas. And that's Rand Fishkin's new startup, Spark Toro. So I checked
Oh,
out like a free
I haven't
search on
heard of
it,
it.
and yeah, it's a really interesting tool.
He's
It's
from
hard to
Moz, right?
describe.
He's
Yeah,
the
he was the founder of Moz. Yeah. But so he's no longer part of Moz. He started a new startup, which is Spark Toro, and it's basically like intelligence data on your brand and or niches of what people are saying. And it's not SEO focused. Like even though there is like SEO kind of stuff there, it is a very hard tool to describe, but it's basically a market intelligence tool. And I liked what I saw from the first usage of it. I saw some immediate things that I'm going to try out with it, but yeah, I'm spending my Christmas around Spark Toro to learn how the tool is used.
That sounds cool, man. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how it turns out and how you guys are able to kind of implement it. Sounds like a really interesting piece of software.
Yeah, it looks very, very interesting. Every time Rand posted something on LinkedIn about it, like, oh, this is fascinating. I need to get this.
Yeah, I need to follow him on LinkedIn. He's an interesting guy. I see him all over the place. He's a big part of the online digital marketing space. And yeah, just to add into those tools, I would say some really good marketing tools that you don't have to pay for essentially is Google Ads and Facebook Ads. And one of the cool things about those platforms is they have a lot of free content, a lot of free training courses. So if you're able to learn how to use any of those PPC ad platforms, it can be a really powerful tool in your tool belt. And also for Google Analytics is another great one. They've got a free course as well. So there's a lot of ways to get educated for free, and the quality of the stuff is really good. So I would say
Yeah.
all of those things are worth looking into if
With
you're interested in that.
with Facebook, a lot of people don't know this. I actually didn't know about it till a little bit ago, but on the Facebook Pixel, you can go into your business manager and open up Facebook analytics, which I did not know was a thing, where you can see like all the different things that are happening on your website. Because just like Google Analytics, the Facebook analytics, they're doing the exact same thing. So you can compare the two and see how well they're going. And it is pretty in depth. Like I think a bit of the new Google Analytics GA4 is somewhat based off of how the Facebook analytics did, because they realized like, oh, they're like, our old platform is so old. Like Facebook reimagined how to do it, right? So that is a very interesting tool. There was one other tool that is free that I think is quite good. What was it? Oh, it's not a tool, but it's a tactic that is very useful if your students watchers here want to learn more about paid ads. There's a thing on Facebook. So say you were selling, I don't know, cameras, and you want to run Facebook ads for cameras. Go to your competitor's business page, scroll down to the page transparency, click on it, and there will be an ad library. So you get to see all of their ad creative that they've ever used, whether it's running or not. So if they have active ads running, maybe that's successful, maybe it's not, but you can get a ton of inspiration in terms of creative angles and just how successful companies are writing their ads. Fortunately, it doesn't work well in our industry because no other broker runs any ads. So
right.
We're the only ones. So I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. I think maybe looking at what realtors are maybe doing in the ad space might be a good parallel.
That might be. I look at Shopify every now and then like, maybe I can use that angle.
That's great. Well, guys, we're running out of time here, but this brings us to our last kind of segment. And if you have any questions for Greg or myself, just go ahead and utilize this Q&A section down here, and we'll try to answer them. If you do have anything, I would say, Greg, I'll go ahead and start off while people are maybe putting in some questions. But I'm curious, like, what are you most excited for as far as the business side of things in 2021?
As far as the business side with Empire Flippers?
Yeah, with EF.
Yeah. So we're finally moving ahead with the course. I know I've been saying that forever, but we're working on that course on how to buy and sell an online business. And I'm very excited because I just hired a HubSpot marketing agency actually to come in and do an audit on all of our systems. And they were using a paid course as well for their agency as a self-liquidating lead magnet. So for your audience, that basically means someone buys a course and they basically become a free lead for you because the course trains them to want your actual service. And they built their LMS where they host the course in HubSpot. So they're going to show us how to build the LMS within HubSpot for our course, which will be just amazing because we will be able to see all the data from our students and stuff. So
that's really cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I had no idea you could do it in HubSpot. And like the guy, he was like, we also didn't know that, but then good job, he canceled our account. And our developer was like, hey, did you know you could do this? So yeah, really fortuitous.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, so when do you think the course will actually launch? Is there any date on that?
No hard date, but we are actually starting recording this month. So all the modules and slides are done. There is one like more beginner course I have to do, which will be for on the buy side, basically to teach people about internet marketing. But recording will start this month and then hopefully be done by the end of next month. And we'll have a sales letter written up after that.
Very cool. Well, what is your guys' plan for the course? Are you going to go the JV route to try to get affiliates in for it? Is that still kind of the marketing tactic?
100%, but we probably will do that after launch because I want to launch it first, and then I'm going to reach out to our buddy Noah over at AppSumo to do like a huge blowout thing afterwards on that. And I think a month or two after that, we will start opening up the actual affiliate program too. I don't want to open up the affiliate program like right away and then do the AppSumo deal and all the affiliates be mad at me.
Right.
So I'm going to wait a little bit, but yeah, we still plan on doing the affiliate program. And one of the really cool things we decided to add in too is like it'll probably be between a $2,000 to $3,000 course. And basically, if you go through that course, whether you're a buyer on the buy side or the sell side, if you ever sell your business with us or buy a business from us, we just refund you the whole course. So if you ever actually use our service, the course will never cost you any money at all.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm curious to see I just got approved for an AppSumo deal for the the Amazon software that I own, and we just launched the other day. So you'll have to get in touch. I'll try to give you any tactics
Oh,
that I learned.
yeah, please let me know.
So yeah, so far so good. But we've got one question here from Thomas Wong. Thomas says, Greg, for remote companies like Empire Flippers, do you guys prioritize people in the same time zone as the US, or does it not really matter?
That's a great question. So in marketing, it does not matter. In fact, if you're in my team in marketing, it's better for you to be in Asia because our Mondays is when new listings come out, or new businesses we're selling. And if you're over in America, that means you're probably working Sunday night. But if you're in Asia, you have like all of Monday to do the job. So it actually works out better, weirdly, in marketing to be in Asia. But for other roles, so like sales, for instance, you need to be in the American time zone. Now, you don't need to be in America for that, but most of our customers are in America. So like we have salespeople that they'll live out in Chiang Mai, Thailand, but they're working like, 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. or whatever to match that American time zone. So that grinds on people after a while working the night shift. So often they'll go to like Mexico or some other place like Colombia with a better time zone. But yeah,
Right.
it just depends on the job you have.
Maybe you could explain. I know there is some brief kind of US restrictions. I know of a lot of people, when we've promoted the jobs for Empire Flippers, people are a little concerned about two things. One, there's only certain states that they can be from. Is that still a policy?
Not necessarily, but yes, is a tax thing. So you can be from any state and apply, or any country and apply. But after you get hired, if you live in any state, I think it's outside of Texas and Colorado, then you have to either like not be in America or move to one of those two states. Because well, the reason why is a very dumb reason that we adhere to, or we have to adhere to, is because of a thing called tax nexus. So basically, like if I have you working in, say, Chicago for me, and you're paying your taxes in Chicago, well, that means the whole company is taxed on Chicago's taxes, which is crazy. It's like an e-commerce nexus thing. So that's one of the big reasons for that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I would say, like, if you're hesitant to apply for a job, just go ahead and apply. I think usually you have like 6 months, right? Because most employees start off as a 1099. Is that still accurate?
Yeah. Every employee starts off as a 1099 contractor, more or less, and then afterwards you become like a full-time employee after 6 months. But to be honest, like this is not a big deal. Like you can be technically living in these other states and still be paying like say like I'm from Alaska. If I move back to Alaska, I can just set up a residency in like Colorado or something like that and probably be fine. Like we've never had any issues with this. It's literally just for like a high level tax reason why we do it. But
Yeah, that makes sense. So we had another question come in here, and I think this will probably be our last one from Jasmine. Question to career change from customer service, business admin, and to move over to something like copywriting. What would be the first step I would take for that?
great question. Well, customer service, you already have a bit of actual transferable skills, which a lot of people think they don't have any transferable skills when they're looking at changing over an industry, and usually that's not true. You as a customer service person, you're dealing with people all the time, so that's very important in copywriting. But what I would recommend is a few books to start off with. So I recommend this is kind of an older book now, so it's a bit dated, but it's Web Copy That Sells. She's I forget her name who wrote it, but she's a very good writer, and she's one of the only people I know that's written a copywriting book where she uses actual empirical data of actual marketing stuff that they've done. A lot of copywriting books, they'll tell you to do something, but they don't really back it up with a lot of stats, but she does. So I think that's really cool, but it is dated. So like her examples are going to look very old school, but again, copywriting doesn't really change even if the platforms change. So that's where I recommend. In terms of jobs, I'm sure Swig could help you out a little bit with his job board, but other remote places you can check out is like Flexboards, Dynamite Jobs, all those kind of places. And look for junior copywriting level. Like, don't try to go in and like become the head of copywriting right away. Junior copywriting will be the job title that will probably be best if you're starting off. And you can also get an account on Upwork. So I know a lot of great copywriters. They started off using Upwork as a freelancer, and even if you're not into freelancing, that is a great way to cut your teeth on some clients and show that to an employer down the road.
Yeah, I've got a buddy here who's built a six-figure kind of career on Upwork copywriting, and it's a great place for lead generation to kind of build up his skills. And uh, that's a great advice, Greg. I appreciate that, and thanks for all the great questions, everyone. Now, for those of you who stick around, we do have a few freebies after that. I just want to talk to you about our remote life community, and we've got a special offer for if you join today. It's going to be $9.99 a month, so 70% off. And this is essentially going to get you access to the replay, like webinars like this. We've got a great vault of previous webinars. We did our last one was with Buffer, and then another one that we did with a freelance coach. So if you're interested in accessing that, you can go to globalcareerbook.com/RLC. And the remote life community is going to give you access to our private Slack community. It's going to give you access to monthly webinars and training recordings. And then we're going to also give you access to exclusive remote job openings that we don't necessarily publish on our remote job board. And then we also give you the remote job seekers blueprint and how to really find a really great remote job. So for someone like you, Jasmine, who's looking to transition, I think this would be a great option for you. So head over to globalcareerbook.com/RLC to learn more and get enrolled today. Now that offer is going to be expiring at midnight tonight. So make sure you hop on board. And for all of those who stuck around, we've got some great free stuff for you. Thanks for sticking with us. If you go to globalcareerbook.com/free, we've got a free 115-page ebook. And this ebook is going to be on the top 100 remote companies. Empire Flippers is, of course, on that list, but it's going to provide you with some industry trends, kind of the top 100 remote companies. It's going to show you what the salary data is for those companies, the Glassdoor ratings, and then it's also going to provide you with links to those career pages. So all of these 100 remote companies are going to be great places to work at. And if you head over to that page, we've got the remote life program, and we give away free resume audits where I actually look at your resume, and for people that are a good fit for the program, I hop on a call and give you some big, easy wins to improve your resume and make some tweaks and adjustments. So that's, if you want to go and access that, head over to globalcareerbook.com/free. And if you want to get in touch, Greg, what's the best way? I've got your LinkedIn on here. Is there any other ways that people, if they want to reach out to you and, say hey or say thanks, where would be the best place to send them?
Yeah, LinkedIn is fine. You can also add me on Facebook, which is also just facebook.com/Greg the Writer. I think it's Greg the Writer or Gregory the Writer, one of the two. But I write a lot of poetry on Facebook. So if you don't like that, don't add me on Facebook. You can also add me or email me just at greg@empireflippers.com. And I'm very passionate about marketing. So if any of your watchers really do want to connect or ask me my advice, I'm happy to help. I think marketing in particular can help you enjoy life in a way that almost no other job can help you with. So I'm a big fan of helping people out with it.
That's great. Yeah. Feel free to reach out to me as well. You can find both of our LinkedIn's. If you just search Michael Swigunski or Mike Swigunski on LinkedIn, you can find that here. I always respond to, or at least I try to respond to every message. So if you do have any questions that come up, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm also really active on Instagram @SwigMeetsWorld. So don't hesitate to get in touch. We're here to help. We want to help people that, are looking to get into digital marketing or to get into the online space. So again, it's a great community because everyone is kind of willing to help each other. So thanks again for everyone who's stayed with us this far. Appreciate all of your support, and we hope you found this valuable. And Greg, thanks so much for sharing all of your knowledge with us. That was a lot of fun, man. We got to do this again soon. I'm super bummed we didn't get to catch up for your bachelor party and your wedding. So
Well, round number
when are we gonna
two
have it?
next year, maybe round number two. I think things might be back to normal by the end of 2021 is my like optimistic prediction. So maybe around next Christmas. We'll see. It's all up in the air still.
Yeah, man. Well, keep us posted. We're definitely overdue for in-person catch up. So looking forward to meeting you in person sometime in the new year.
For sure, man. I look forward to it as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, everyone. And if you want to get to this recording, or if you want to get access to our other recordings, check the chat. You've got the link in there to go ahead and sign up. So thanks again, Greg. And I'll be in touch, buddy.
Yeah, man. Talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye, everyone.